Hi everyone, it's Katie. It is Tuesday night and I am here on Helmar Live and I'm going to start recording, but I need to find you on chat before I finish up more. So I'm going to pull you down in the corner and fix my screen so I can chat with you all and watch myself, which is a little disconcerting. You still see the notebook? Really? Oh, that's because I did. No, it should be, you should have the built-in site. You can't see me at all? Bummer. Well, that must be, I started using the new social stream, so I wonder if that has anything to do with it. So I'm going to put everything where it belongs and switch myself back over so I can see. Okay, can you still see my... So are you still seeing it from the, just the notebook? Notebook. Okay, then I'll start from there. I'm going to move my camera over, my computer over, so if I get in your way, I'm sorry. That way I can read what you're all saying. If I get a little lost, it's because I have a hard time following. I think most of you who are with me know that. I'm going to make sure everything's plugged in and ready to go. Is the sound still okay, Cher? Hello, Kay. So I'm Katie with Helmar, and I'm here tonight, and I'm highlighting some Helmar decoupage and craft paste. This is my absolute favorite. I use it as a glue. I use it as a sealer. What I love about it myself is that I'm in a humid climate, and it dries fairly fast for a humid climate, and it does not bubble. I appreciate that. I don't find that my items warp with it, and they're pretty durable. I have yet to have any kind of canvas or notebook that has been destroyed with this as a sealer on it. So I'm using that today. And I'm also using a little bit of 450 quick dry adhesive, not only because it dries quick and everything else on here is going to take a while to dry tonight, but also because it stays on really, really, really sturdy on my notebooks. So tonight we're working on a composition book. This is my old composition book. I didn't decorate the back that time. This book has been around in my, it's been around in, I don't know, maybe 3 years, 2 years. It was one of my first multimedia pieces, and it is an idea book. I have several of these done differently, and this one has all of my magazine ideas. You can see that I've got quotes in here, and I've got anything that I've pulled out of a magazine and wanted saved. You can see where I've torn pages out too. Anything with notes, I tape it right in there. What I love about this is this is probably 10 magazines worth of ideas. And every time I travel somewhere, the original Smash book, yep, for creative ideas. So every time I go to a crop, I bring this with me for ideas. So I'm not always searching the internet. I'm not taking time away from the people that are with me, and I can share this with other people. But you can see where, I've made notes on the layouts and stuff that say 2 photos, 3 photos. Some of my other books that I've done, I put tabs on them. I can show you a couple more that weren't altered. They've gotten a lot of good use, and some of them are fairly old. Here's one of my original ones, which was not done in a multimedia way. It's really old. You can see that I just did it with paper and glue, and this has some pictures shoved in it, but you can see that these are pretty old, and that I had notes, little sticky notes for what layouts for myself, what pictures match the layouts I was going to do at the time. And so pretty much, if I did use it, I pulled it out. So some of these I must still have pictures for somewhere floating around. Although I know I did that one. So for me, this is just an easier way to store my magazines without having all the space. So tonight we're going to work on a multimedia one. My husband so kindly brought me actually this quite pretty composition book so I could decorate it tonight. So, kind of keep this in mind. We're going to use some gesso and some modeling paste, a little bit of paint, and lots of decoupage, a little bit of washi tape, and using decoupage on the washi tape to keep the back from being sticky, which I don't know if any of you have tried that yet. So we're going to start off with just kind of gessoing it down, this one down real quick with a brush. I do have a little thing of water over here to put my brushes in. So I have gesso. This is just a plain gesso I got at Michael's. I am going to use, for this one, I'm just going to pull it out with an old card from a hotel. And I just opened it up wide because it doesn't really matter if the pages are smushed or not, because we're just going to put, well, when I'm done, I'm just going to tape other people's ideas in here. So I want to just take some of the color off of here, and I'm going to do it right on the black this time too, because I'm thinking I might use some washi tape on the binding for this one. So I'm just spreading it on. Now, I don't know if you've used this or not before, but it does spread, and you don't really want it on your pages. So if you spread it that way, make sure you pick it up really fast because it will make your pages stick together. And I just want to get a good amount on here. Now, don't be afraid to have it be different, not all the same texture, because we want some texture on this. We want a different feel to it. It's not going to be smooth because it is multimedia, which means that we're using different forms of art on here. We're using some paint and some scrapbooking and some textured. Cheryl, do you know what exactly is there an exact definition for multimedia art? So now I am going to take my brush and I'm just going to spread this a little bit. I don't know if you can see me doing that here. I just want to cover up some of this. Eventually it's going to get covered up with a little modeling paste and paint. Now I will have to make some noise because I do need this to dry. So I will have to use my heat gun, which is an old one and not the quiet one by Tim Holtz. But as you can see, this is not perfect. I really probably should put my apron on because I will be grabbing paint. So while this starts drying, you guys are going to watch some gesso dry for just a minute. I'm going to grab my apron and I will be right back. Gesso drying. Okay, I am back. Wasn't it you who gave me the idea of the card for a palette knife, Cheryl? Put an old in between. That is a great idea. I love that, Vanessa. Excellent idea. I think I've done pretty good, though. I only have it in one little area. I think I'm going to take you up on that idea. I'm going to grab a couple towels. See, I told you all I was going to let you watch gesso dry. It's quite boring, and you guys are very patient. So I'll put that between there so I don't get any more of my stuff on my pages, and it's usable. So I'm doing just what Vanessa had said she does and sticking some towels in here. And I know they look like pretty towels, but they really are not towels that I use on an everyday basis. And look, I can even wipe my hands off on them, which is pretty fabulous. My hands are getting messy. I forgot to put on what some lovely lady taught me, which is, I don't have the heat gun. Invisible glove. I forgot to put it on, but I highly recommend this when you're using any paint or gesso. Everything washes right off afterwards. I just forgot it. So my hands will look like this for a while. I'm pulling out my heat gun. Please forgive me for the noise. I will eventually get the heat gun from Ranger. So I'm just going to raise it above the gesso. I like to do it in circular motions so nothing burns. Doesn't get too hot, and it dries. You do want this to dry. This is going to be your base. It will allow the other multimedia things to adhere to your composition book. Now I do these on very small composition books too, the mini ones. I don't know if you've seen them. We use them for like assignment books for my kids. But you can do them, the multimedia ones on those too. They're just a much smaller canvas. I wasn't joking when I said that you were going to watch gesso dry. It doesn't take that long. You can see where it's kind of getting a little shiny here, drying up. Now, if you like the background of a book like this, oh, thank you. I did just make one, but it wasn't done in the multimedia art way. It was just a simple one I threw together. If you like the pattern on this, you could paint right over it and not need the gesso as a primer. I just wanted to use some paint on here to match what my inspiration was for this. Just a little bit more. I did hit record. Okay. So I'm putting the gesso away right now. I'm tucking it away, and I want to use some paint on here. So I'm going to tell you why I chose the colors I chose. I chose a blue and a yellow. These are just basic paints. I got at Ben Franklin, and they're latex they're acrylic paints that I got at, this one was at Ben Franklin's, and I'm pretty sure this one was at AC Moore. I want to use green. I want to make green, so I only had blue and yellow to make green. So because on my inspiration piece, which was actually a birthday card from my Aunt Jean, I love to sing, I love the bird, and I also love the green in the bird. So I thought I could pull out the greens by mixing the acrylic modeling paste and the two colors of paint to get green on my composition book. So I'm going to slide this over a little bit, still leaving this here. I want you to get a feel for what I'm doing with this, and I don't want to, this is a very messy one, so we really want to be careful with what you're doing, and I have a small space here. I'm sure you'll have a bigger space when you do something like this. So right here, I'm going to take some acrylic modeling paste with an old cheese knife, and I'm just going to put it on my mat. And I'm going to mix my paints in with it. I'm mixing some blue, some yellow till I get the green that I'm looking for. I'm going to just mix it. And I'm not making it so I want some of the yellow to show, some of the blue to show, almost like a tie-dye. But I want it a little more green, so I'm going to add a little more yellow. And I'm going to grab a little more modeling paste. And mix it up some more. That's a big pile of modeling paste, I know. And I generally don't use all of it, but this will do. So I think this is a good green for me. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move this over a little bit, and I'm going to start with the back of my composition book, and I'm just going to take some of this and put it in with my gesso. Sporadically, nothing organized, messy, something very different than what I normally do on my scrapbook pages. But you'll find that it is actually quite clean in lines when I'm done. So I'm going to take some old punchinella and just tap this in here to create some texture. I'm sure if you've created with taken any multimedia classes before, punchinella is a big item used to give texture. I personally like it because it adds little circles. And what I can do with the paint that's still left on this side is move it over and add some more here. Can add a little more texture. Oh, see, I just love the circles. This is my go-to item for texture. It's pretty consistent. If you look at my notebook that I created before, I used punchinella all over it. So those are the greens on the back of my composition book. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip it over. If my punchinella doesn't get in my way everywhere. And do the other side. I'm so happy I went and got my, wipe that off a little bit. I went and got my apron because I am getting this everywhere. So can we still see what I'm working on that piece right there? I'm going to put this back in. Love that idea, Vanessa. And I'm just going to add a little bit more again. I want a little bit more color down here. A little more here and there. And then I'm going to take that down that way. Going back to my punchinella that I used before, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just press it in with my fingers. Maybe do some sideways. I'm going to pull some of the paint off so it's not so thick, so all I do is swipe my fingers on it. Gives it a little more of a honeycomb look sometimes, which I think you can see there. I'm just going to do a little bit more of that on the other side again. That way it won't take so long to dry. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. I'm going to put my punchinella to the side. All right, and now I'm going to dry it again with my heat gun, because what we want to happen is we want it dry enough so that we can seal it with the decoupage and stick on our embellishments. Let's see if we can move some of the paint out of our way now. So I'm just going to slide this over. That's a little bit of wasted paint and modeling paste. That will go right into the sink. Well, actually, we'll go right into the trash, and then everything will be washed in the sink with soap and water. So we're going to let that dry just a second. And I'm going to just wipe my mat off. I love that I can just wipe with paper towels to get off the modeling paste and the paint and move my project back over. I did get a little paint on my pages, but that's okay. Add a little bit of character. Okay, moving that over. All right, now we need this to dry before we add the decoupage. That way the decoupage can dry also in a nice layer. So again, I'm going to make some noise. Lots of texture, but in a simple way because I only used one thing of punchinella. So please forgive the noise and just be a little patient. You can, I would sing to you, but I probably, hurt your ears. What's nice about the modeling paste is that it does dry fairly quick. Again, I'm doing this in a circle motion. Sing? You think I should sing? I can put some Adele on. Now, I want to stamp on this, but I'm not going to stamp a lot on this. I just want to create a design on the bottom. And to do that, I am going to use, did I move it? I did move it. I'm going to use black archival ink. It has a nice stamped image and it doesn't smudge. So I'm just going to work on the front, getting the front dry, because the back of it I'm actually leaving like that. I'm not going to add anything else to it. I'm going to decoupage and craft paste the back of it so that my texture doesn't get ruined and my paint doesn't get ruined, but I'm not going to add any design to the back of that. Thank you, Vanessa. Yep, that still needs a little time to dry. Okay, Cheryl, does the Heat Ranger gun dry faster too? Yes, thank you, Kay. It does dry faster. More evenly? Gets hot, so you have to be careful with it. I should have kept the teenagers down here to do this. So you don't have, like how I'm doing the circle motion, you don't have to do that with the other one? Gotcha. Alright, I guess that's on my to-get list. It has to be humid today because this is taking longer to dry. Oh, we're doing good. Literally, gesso and paint drying. All right, I'm going to turn that off for a minute. I'm going to turn the fan on because I really do think it's pretty humid here today. And that should help a little bit. There we go. I work in an office all day long, so it's hard to tell if it's humid out or not. I'm going to test this a little bit. It's still a little damp. Sorry that it's taking so long tonight. I should have the magic TV oven, but you know what? Then you wouldn't get my charming self just chatting away, saying whatever, as I sit here, patiently watch paint dry with you all. I've learned my lesson now. I need one of those ovens, and I need a Ranger heat gun. Okay. All right, so I'm doing okay there. I'm going to take my... You don't really mind watching? It is part of the project. Hey, Raven. So now I'm going to take my super duper cool stamp designed by Susan Westkisser by Unity. Now this stamp is really fun and circular. I used it on a card. I also used it on another multimedia project recently. It is, I'm pretty sure you can get it on, still get it on Unity's website. But Susan is a member of the Helmar design team, and she creates some really fantastic stamps and some fun, brightly imaged papers that I really enjoy. So I'm just taking my StazOn, which I will heat set, and my stamp. I'm not using a stamp block because I don't really feel like I need it on this. I'm just adding some circles around the edges, adding some black. Hey, Cheryl. So I'm just taking this and I'm tapping it, just getting some black, and I'm just going to add it. Oh, I didn't dry it enough, I guess. So I'm just adding the circles here and there. I'm not adding a lot. I just want a little bit of the black. Do some up on the corner. I don't know if you can see that. And I can tell you right now, what I learned the last time I used her stamps is, even though they have the intricate little pieces, all of this multimedia paint and gesso washes right out of here. Not off my stamp pad though, unfortunately. So, lesson learned tonight. I need a quick oven. I need a different heat gun. I need no humidity. All right, let's just do a little bit more. I'm trying to find places where I don't need to worry about where that's not dry. I'll put some over here. And at the bottom. That's not really dry all that much because I purposely didn't work on that side because I want to focus on the front of it. So I'm going to slide this over a little bit more. See if I can move this. There we go. And this is going into a bath as soon as possible, and all of that really will come out, I promise. So I'm going back to my heat gun. You haven't used that one yet? I love it. Oh. I don't usually find that it's too much of a bother, but I guess I don't do so much multimedia that, or this thick anyway, that I find that it's a problem. So I just added some black around my edges. I didn't want to make it too busy. I really wanted, again, just to kind of highlight the edges of it. I'm going to heat seal it because it is the StazOn. You do want to heat set it. And this will help to dry the rest of my gesso and my modeling paste and my paint before I go and add my Helmar decoupage and craft paste. So I'm going to do a little bit over here too. Help it out. I'm going to lift it up. Oh, there we go. I can see where it's drying for me. Okay, so now it's time to add decoupage. But before I add decoupage, I want to trim down the card my aunt gave me because it's a little big to just pop on here and still add some letters and things like that. So I'm going to trim it down a little bit, some of the bird off, not his face, but maybe his bottom a little bit. And then I will add some decoupage. So I'm just going to trim this up. Not sure if you can see me do this, but I don't really want to move that out of the way too much. So I'm going to trim using my Fiskars trimmer that I use every time I see you all. I'm just trimming it down. I'm not measuring it. My hands have paint on it. It's going right on there. I think he works now. And what it says, forever stay open, curious, fearless, transparent, and willing to be and love being exactly who you are. Which is what creating is all about, isn't it? So I'm moving my trimmer out of the way since I don't need it anymore. And I am grabbing my Helmar decoupage. Now, I find that I only need a light layer of the decoupage. Thank you. My aunt gave that to me. It dries faster. I'm still able to stick things to it, even with a thin layer. So I'm just taking an old foam brush. This is one of my favorite ways to do it. And I'm just putting a layer on to seal my front. I'm going to seal the binding too. And I think I told everybody before, I'm going to leave the back to dry on its own, and I will be using the decoupage on it later, but I'm not going to be decorating the back of this. But for time's sake, in watching paint dry, I am only doing the front for you. So this is to help, this helps seal this, so nothing, for me, nothing will ruin my paint unless it's not dry. And I'm going to stick my card. Oh, I think I'm going to stick that right here. So I'm just pressing it lightly into the decoupage in the paint. And I'm going to decoupage over this. So I'm sealing the card and I'm gluing it right onto my notebook. Now, for those of you who came later, this is just a $1.50 composition book that my husband picked up for me that I am making for an idea book. I tend to cut out pieces that I like out of magazines and stick them in composition books and save them for when I go to crops or I need an idea, and that way I don't have all those millions of magazines laying around. All right, and this did pretty good, not picking up the paint too much because there was a little bit of wet spot there. And I am going to dry this just a little bit. It won't take long to dry. If I would just let this sit out if I was doing it, not for you all, but for myself, I would just let this dry, walk away, go do some dishes. Okay, and it's not dry all the way. I just wanted to set it a little bit. So now I want to add my words and my washi tape and my ribbon or anything else that I want to add to this. And I have some old letters, and I'll be honest with you, I have no idea who they're by or where they came from, because they have been in my drawers forever. They're random letters, but in the colors that I wanted, and I'm going to do the word create on here. See those? Now, believe it or not, I'm going to use the 450 on here, and I'm not quite sure what the recommendation is by Helmar, but I find that hi Cass, that it works really, really well. And even though the decoupage is on there, it sticks nice. It's not something I can actually decoupage over these letters if I want to. So I'm just adding some 450, spreading it thin, and I'm lifting up, and I'm just doing it right with the tip. That's how I like to do it. So I'm just going to put my letters down, stick it right on there, and I think there's an R in here somewhere. So I just pulled colors from the bird that I really liked. Now this is sticky already, a sticky back, but I find that the sticky backs don't stick very well and they don't last very long. So this is where the Helmar 450 Quick Dry comes in. And I'm just going to create my word, create my letter E. Oh, I think I might use the whole thing. You've never decoupaged on a bumpy surface? Oh, you must try it. And so I'm just the same thing with all my letters, 450. Most of these are already sticky back and they don't stick. I'm going to overlap that a little bit, but I don't want to overlap my words, so I'm going to slide it back and it will set nicely. I'm putting that right into my binding. Oh, I like that. And my last letter, an old chipboard craft from the Dredges, E. So create. So far, so good. Everything's drying. I'm liking it this way. I'm going to wipe my hands on the towel again because there's a lot of green on here. So I want to add some flowered ribbon, and I want to add some layered washi tape. The washi tape is sticky on both sides, and I'm going to show you a little trick on how to keep it from sticking and being able to layer it. So I just want a layer of flowers. I don't like that end of the flowers, so I may go to the other end. I'm going to cut these with my scissors. You can see me doing this over here. Oh, I don't know. You can't see me doing this, so I'm going to move this a little bit. I'm going to cut with my scissors. Now this is just some cheap ribbon. I got it on clearance. Let me see where I got it from. Plenty of companies make these flowered ribbons. It's rosettes. I got it at a salvage place for 50 cents. These are great because you can mist them. You can paint them. Tonight I'm not going to, but that's what you can do with the rosettes. Make them anything you want. And I'm going to trim off the bottom mesh because I really don't need it. And I'm going to do it out of your sight just because I don't want it on my glue. I'm just trimming it up because that's what I like to do with this. I know some people like the mesh showing. I particularly don't. So now that I've trimmed this, I'm going to focus on, I think I'm going to put it right there on the top, just like I've done on my other one. And I'm going to use my 450 Quick Dry Adhesive again by Helmar. And I love the 450 Helmar, 450 Quick Dry by Helmar on ribbon material. If you get a little bit over, it's so nicely when it dries, you can peel it right off, but it doesn't unstick. So I'm just adding this to the top. I don't want to hide my words, so I'm just sliding it into place. Oh, that looks nice. Now I'd like to add the washi tape on the top. I am here. You can see where I used some paper and I crinkled it, but I'm going to try and do that with the washi tape behind the rosettes and then add some decoupage to it. So I have this now wonderful collection of washi tape. Thank you very much, Kay, for using it on lots of things and making me buy it. I am going to, I think I pulled out some greens and some blues that I really liked. So I have some dotted blue and some dotted green and some chevron. And I'm just going to rip it off. If I can find the edge of it. I'm going to roughly go here, but I'm going to wrinkle it. So I'm going to pleat it in different places so it sticks together. And I'm going to bring it in here and tuck it. You can see that my fingers are sticking to it now because they haven't been washed. Let's try this one more time. It really does work. Adding the pleats. So there we go. Now tucking that in. Nice and easy. There. So what I'm going to do underneath it is I'm going to take a little bit of the decoupage, just a little bit, and I'm going to go underneath the washi tape here. There we go. And then I'm going to curl it up just a little bit. Just curl it so it has a little bit of height. And I'm going to take another color now and do the same thing. When your hands are clean, it's a little easier. Hi, Carissa. Wow. Hi, Paula. Because then the washi tape doesn't stick to your painted hands. So I'm going to measure again. Add a few pleats. Nothing perfect, nothing fancy. And I'm going to tuck it underneath the other washi tape. So I'm sliding it right underneath here again. And see how the decoupage has added some stiffness to the other washi tape, so it's staying up. And I'm going to do the same thing on the back of this washi tape, which is add some decoupage. Just a little bit of the decoupage and craft paste. once it's all underneath there, and just on the ball underneath of it, add it to the edge and curl it up a little bit. I don't know if you can see that really well, but it adds a little lift to it and a little curl, and it will harden and stay that way. One more color, I think. I have the dots, I have that. How about the green? Pretty flowers, leaves. Not really sure what the design is on that. That one's folded under a little too much, so I'm going to just tear it off and move it to the side. And I'm going to measure it out roughly again. And I'm going to fold again. Is this as bad as watching the paint dry? Thank you. And again, just giving it some shape, some lift, some texture. And now I'm going to tuck it under the last one that I did. There we go. And going to do the last bit of decoupage on my washi tape. My hands are extremely sticky from the paint now. All right, I want that to stick. So pushing it down just a little bit more. All right. Now I'm going to curl it with my fingers. Can you see me just curling the edges of it? There we go. And we're going to let that dry. So I just want to add a button. I have these lovely buttons, beautiful gold buttons. Another one I found on clearance. I don't know where. They're actually foam, and I don't like the foam. So I'm going to rip the foam off. And use some 450 quick dry adhesive. Thanks, Cher. So again, pretty much any surface you want, the 450 quick dry. Now I want this to stick, so I'm just going to put a circle on the bottom. You can see, oh, look at that. That looks great, doesn't it? And I'm going to add it right on the corner, just to add a little bling. And I'm going to hold it for a second because that area still was a little wet from everything else, and we do want it to dry. Now, what you need to remember about 450 is that you have to close the bottle all the way. If you don't close it all the way, the tip will dry. You don't need to take the cover off all the way to get the glue to come out. You only need to twist it, close it. And if it dries on the top, you can just peel it off and it's good to go. I talk sweet to you? Is that not how I normally talk? So I think that button is good. And I'm debating on whether I need another layer of decoupage. And I'm thinking, no, that looks really great. If I'm touching it over here, it's nice and smooth. It's drying nicely. So what I'm going to do is take my heat gun again so you can help me watch the glue dry. Just to seal it a little bit more, so when I lift it up to show it to you, you don't see the glue where the decoupage is drying. You just see the wonderful composition notebook. Not that the decoupage isn't really interesting to see, it is. So just making sure it's all dry. I did get some, oh, I'll just leave it there. A little mesh on the bird, but it won't hurt the bird. Almost done. So my back of my book is staying just how it is. I'm not going to add anything more to it. I'm just going to let it dry. Thank you. And I'd like you to notice how, even though I'm heat setting this, nothing is getting ruined. The glue, the decoupage and craft paste really protects it, which is why I love it. I can tote this book around anywhere now, and my letters aren't going to fall off, and my beautiful card is not going to get scratched up. Okay, I'm going to turn that off now and show you the finished project. Thank you. I'm going to be very careful because the back isn't dry yet. But the front, for the most part, is. I will take all of these things out of here so you can see it in its... So here, hold on. Here is my new Create book. You can see all the layering, and that will stay just like that. The decoupage will dry and it will keep those ruffles and they won't fall off. You can see how nice and clear and smooth all that decoupage and craft paste is over my card. I'm going to add a little bit of a sheen, but no fogginess, just great clearness. And you see the stamps and all my letters and how they're layered there. And with the 450, those letters aren't coming off. I'm going to tote them around and abuse them, and there we go. So I don't want to close that there. I'm going to keep it open, let you look at it a little bit more. Put my glue right back in here. You do need some of the decoupage, Paula, definitely. So tonight I used decoupage and craft paste to use it as a glue and a sealer on my altered composition book. I also used 450 quick dry adhesive to adhere my items such as my alphabets and the ribbon and the button, and that is the base of being able to keep my composition book that gets used a lot in safe enough shape that I can tote it around and be abusive. Is there any questions? Anything that you want to know about the glues? No, it's not glossy at all. It's quite matte. It does add a sheen, but it's not glossy. I keep having to scroll down to read what you're... No, it's not sticky. That's the thing. My hands were sticking to the paint and not the glue at all, which is really fabulous. So if you look at my hands, it's not the glue that's stuck here. It's all the modeling paste and the paint and the gesso. And the glue, I don't know if you can see, but there's no glue on here. It didn't stick to me. Paul, you need to order it for the shop. Your women will love it. Oh, I can't wait to see your project, Cheryl. I keep reaching over you. Sorry, because you're across. Yes, they are. So, Cheryl, were you able to share any of the links for buying the Helmar glue? Thank you. Oh, that's the blog. But would you be able to share the link for Helmar USA and the link for the Australian site for me, please? I don't want to get the paint all over my computer. Thank you. That's where you can buy the Helmar 450 quick dry adhesive and the decoupage and craft paste. The USA site is for USA and Canada, and the Australian site is for just Australia. Is that right, Cheryl? Or is it all of Europe? Oh, we'll have to find that one out for next time. Well, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to sign off tonight. I'm going to enjoy some pizza with my family and the 2 extra teenage girls we have in our house. I am so happy you joined me tonight. I had so much fun creating with you all and getting really messy, and I really appreciate that you were all really patient and with my paint drawing. Who is up next? I know that Cheryl. Yes, thank you. Cheryl is next week, and I will be back the week after. I can't wait to see what Cheryl has. I have every intention on being here, so I hope everybody will be here to see what Cheryl has for us. Thank you so much, and have a good evening, everybody.